Employment's at its highest ever level, at around 30 million for the final quarter of 2012, but economic growth has been negative, with GDP falling 0.3%. But what I'm talking about is declared employment, and I should just make that clear caveat. It'd be interesting to see the relative scale of undeclared employment compared to periods of economic growth. So the squeeze is on. Wage growth remains lower than the rate of inflation. Wages grew by 1.4% in the final quarter of 2012. But don't forget that this actually hides a much, much darker picture. What you see here is a wiggly line. We've got to have a wiggly line in any presentation. As you'll see, what it tells us is that there was initially a period of growth in the wake of the recession, followed by a sustained dip during 2011, that little downward arrow, in which redundancies and restructures occurred across a lot of organisations. The actual numbers are rising of employed people, but they're employed for less time. I would love to see what this graph looked like if we actually looked at the total number of hours worked. Changing conditions of employment. Compared to other sectors, we're more part-time, as I said, but not just because we choose to be. And we're also more temporary, and not just because we choose to be. We're becoming a less and less competitive and less an attractive place to work than other sectors. And as you know, with the growth of contracts over grants, competition with other sectors is a pretty major factor that we need to take into account at the moment. But recruitment stands at a cost of an average £2,000 per person across the sector, rising to about £6,000 for middle management. At the same time, training budgets stand at around £121 per person. So we are not investing in the talent we have. Instead, what we're doing is accepting that we just need to recruit more people. I think that there are things that can be done. The skills third sector, we've been trying to dig around and work out across the board what some of the solutions to this might look like. We can share or trade the spare seats that we do have on training courses. So where we look across particularly large employers, the extent to which they take on in-house trainers. Some of those spare seats perhaps could be offered up to other organisations as well. Our whole structured training approach might look rather different if we paid the same amount of attention to workflow forecasting as we did to cash flow forecasting. And I think we can have a look at taking on apprentices. This isn't just a short-term, cheap labour force approach. More apprentices with the right approach with structured career pathways could be an interesting future for us.